Hello, and today I'll be talking about the Firefight rulebook and the Firefight force list book, and to say, are they any good? And is the game any good? So Firefight came out in April of 2022, which in time of recording is almost a year to the day of its release. And by all accounts it's gone pretty well. You don't just get the rulebook and the force list book, you also get a few sheets of tokens. These have things like fog, objective markers, wounds and such like. They're all useful and you don't really need to add any of your own, but you can if you want to make things a bit more unique. The price is £30 and that's not bad considering what you get. Starting with the rulebook then, and it's pretty set out, all things considered. It starts off with the rules, as you'd expect. It then goes into missions, which are the scenarios on how to play. Most of them are normal games that you find in tournaments or you just play normally, but there is a few that is more fluff based, just there for a good time really. It then goes into the background and it's not bad. Honestly say Dead Zone does it a bit better, but there's a few things in here that are a bit different that you'd expect. This is more an army scale game, so things are a bit more expanded. Things aren't so personal as they are in Dead Zone. The artwork in both books is quite nice to be considered. Honestly, I prefer the Kings of War artwork, but that's just a personal preference. But they have put a lot more artwork than in the Dead Zone rulebook. I'll explain. In Dead Zone they had this thing where they take the actual models and use digital artwork and such like and computer art stuff to make it look more like artwork, not just models done on CGI and the like. All very well presented and does give a different flavour, but I don't really like how that works. The proper artwork, and there is plenty of new stuff, is well presented and I do think it's quite well done. It's just not my personal cup of tea. The rules are 53 pages long. The other pages starting on page 66 and ending on page 101, so well, that's about 30-40 pages of background. It's pretty well done, like I said, and it's pretty easy to get into. The special rules or keywords as they use is near the back, as you'd expect, and then the missions like before. Going on to the force list book then, and it's just like they did with Dead Zone, all about the armies. There are 7 armies to go on with. We've got the Asterians, the Enforcers, the Forge Fathers, the GCPS, the Marauders, the Plague and the Vermin. People wanting the Rebs, the Nameless and the Maison Labs, you're going to have to wait a bit longer, although at time of recording the Maison Labs have sort of been released. I'll get onto that later. In the force list book it starts with how you build an army, and this is one of my little criticisms that might be a minor thing, it might just be a personal thing, not sure. But how you build your army is you need to have a commander. That's how you start with. Then that allows you to take as many troops as you want. For each troop you can take a command or specialist. Yes, you can have more than one command and it is imperative that you should, really. For each 2 specialist, command or troop you can unlock a support. However, it's not as easy as you think, because if you use a troop to unlock a specialist or command, then you cannot use that troop to unlock a support. Vice versa, if you use a command or a specialist to help unlock a support, you can't then use that command or specialist to unlock another support. After a bit of background on the army, it goes into a 2-page spread, and it's very nicely done, showing you what you get in the strike force or an example of what you could make. It then goes into the army properly. It starts with the faction orders, and each faction gets 3 specific ones because each army have their own orders that you can do. There are 2 universal ones that you can pick, and then each commander from each army has their own specific ones which only they can use. It then goes into the army properly, starting with the troops, then the specialist, then the support, then the command. One little criticism, and this is a slight nitpick, I do admit, is that the command are last, and considering you need at least one command to start building your army, you'd have thought they'd put the command first, but because of what they do, I suppose, leave the most important thing to kind of last, I guess. After that, it goes into the showcase, which is basically 2 pages of what the models are and what they look like. The minor issue here is it doesn't show you what the weapons look like they do in Dead Zone, which I'd like them to have done that. It also doesn't show you what some of the models look like, which is a shame, but it's only 2 pages long, but they could have made some of the vehicles a bit smaller, so you could have seen them a bit better. It's just a minor thing as well, but it is what it is, I guess. If you've played Dead Zone, and why wouldn't you? It's a fantastic game. You've probably got the start of an army for Firefight. Your leader, for example, could be used as a command option for Firefight, and probably what you've got for your Dead Zone force, you've probably got at least 1 or 2 units of troops, or 1 troop and 1 specialist unit you could take for Firefight. Yes, it's a very small army and you've not really got that much, but you could learn the game that way. The only things that you don't get in Dead Zone that you get in Firefight are some of the large vehicles, such as the flyers and a lot of the larger vehicles, such as the tanks and the like. The only thing that could, I think, be used in Dead Zone is from the Forge Fathers, the Jotun weapon platform. It's not really that strong, and quite honestly, if it's used in Dead Zone, it'll probably be shut down by something large in close combat within minutes. But it's an option, and I do think it could fit. Another thing to note that you might want to be careful of that's a bit different from Dead Zone is the actual height of the models. All of the unit stats contain their height, so it doesn't really matter if you mount them on something bigger just to make them look cool, it won't affect line of sight. In Dead Zone it does, but in Firefight the terrain's just put into height like Kings of War. What this means is you and your opponent can decide the height of a building and what terrain counts as, and you're good to go. This counts as obstacles, so that means only certain height models can get cover from it. This is a height 4 building, which means some models get cover from it and some models can't actually see over it. So, how easy is it to play? At the time of recording, I only played my first game a couple of weeks ago, and it's fantastic, quite honestly. I thought when I got the rulebook and was sorting out an army and such like, I thought it'd be fairly simple and that's it. Jobs are good and play it a bit. Nah. But quite honestly, I think in some ways it's as good as Dead Zone, if not better. I know the 2 games work differently, but they do feel similar in the sense of it uses D8s and the model variety and such like. It uses a I go, you go mechanic, which means once you've activated a unit, your opponent activates a unit. You can meddle in that somewhat with spending a command point to activate a second unit, but you have to let your opponent activate a unit after you've done that. It's also got a thing where if you're in a building, you don't have to literally have each model in it, you just take the models off the board and just have 1 unit beside the building, and that says they're in that building. It just means that they can fire out of it in all directions, and trying to fight in it is a little bit hard, but once you've pushed an enemy out, you've got the building. It's also got charge reactions, or as this game calls it, assault reactions. What this means is when a unit is going to attack someone in close combat, move into them, there's 4 options that could happen, depending on the unit that's being charged. There's suppressive fire, which, well, you try and suppress an enemy before they reach you. There's evade, which you move away. There's countercharge, which means you've got a bonus for, well, essentially charging them as well. And then you've got controlled fire, which means you could shoot them before they charge in and hopefully do a bit of damage. One thing to note, in my first game I was playing the Marauders and my opponent was playing the Forge Fathers. Forge Guard unless they've activated, are absolutely ruthless, even if you charge them with someone good in close combat. They do not take no prisoners. Most things are done from the leader model of each unit, line of sight, targeting, range and the like. This means you can have all other models from the unit ranged around or in front of the leader model, but I won't really put them in front of the leader model because that means the enemy units got a bit more range and flexibility on you. You don't want to put them too far forward because the leader model moves first and everything moves around it, and then the range is measured from the leader. So for example, if you've got 4 rifles and they've got 18-inch range, you measure from the leader, and if the leader's within 18-inch, great. And then if you've got, say, a shotgun that's 12-inch, if the leader's within 12-inch, great. If not, can't do it. The only thing that was a little bit hard to work out is how nerve worked and commands, how long they lasted. But once we'd figured it out and actually read the bit, it was easy enough to understand. And quite honestly, nerve is going to play a big part once you get down to the nitty-gritty of things. It's a fantastic game, and I should really do some videos for it because I really enjoy it. So, thank you for watching this video. We'll see how long it takes before the next one. Goodbye for now.